Yeah, so I first off, I think it's awesome that three AL Central teams are still fighting to represent the American League. We've often talked about the talent in this division, and I get asked a lot about it. And three teams still stand. That's pretty cool. Obviously, one's standing right in front of us in the way. So I think familiarity is both a good thing and a trap. We can kind of rest assured that we're coming in here with some at bats stacked on some of their pitchers. They face some of our pitchers, but that doesn't mean you're not going to study as much. You're not going to prepare as much. If anything, you're going to do it more. To make sure you're not missing anything because of that familiarity. So it's nice and convenient. I hope some Detroit fans come to Cleveland. We're going to be home for a home game soon. But I know our guys are going to attack this series the same way, regardless of the fact that we've played them a lot.
AJ, how does the extra off day between games 1 and 2 impact how you'll deploy your pitching?
Yeah, the way we've used our pitching, I think it's easy to think that we'll be more rested. Obviously, we're all hands on deck. Nothing's changed. We didn't transform our strategy from one series to another. We're gonna still attack them as much as we can with as many arms as we can, and try to create advantages when we can. So I think the day off will be good for us. The downside is we're not the only one resting. Like their side is resting as well, and they have a tremendous bullpen that is arguably one of the best in the league. So. They're going to get that rest too. So it may change a little bit of how aggressive we are in game one. We're going to start with Tyler Holton tomorrow to open the game. And then, as usual, we're going to go a lot of different ways. And then Tarek Skubal will pitch game 2. And so we're going to use our relievers as we need to. And having an extra off day, between those games is probably advantage every single pitcher in this series, including their guys.
AJ, what kind of conversation did you have with Jackson Jobe after his outing? Does anything influence how he used going forward?
Yeah, so Jackson, I texted back and forth with him after the game with game 2 and just let him know that I thought he did tremendously well. If anything, the way that he threw the ball gives me more confidence that he can handle it. I mean, he didn't even get hit hard. He didn't. There wasn't a ball that was on the barrel, and I think the closest thing was a 180-foot pop-up that Vierling caught in foul territory. So he got a little unlucky, clipped the first hitter, slow ground ball. We didn't convert it out. We didn't convert it out on a bunt. Altuve hits the pop-up down the line. So, his inning could have gone very differently. I know I put him in a tough, unfamiliar spot, but this kid can handle it, and I'm excited to get him back on the mound. That's exactly what I told him, and I expect him to be on this roster. We haven't announced our roster yet, but he's equipped to do this and pitch as many innings as we need.
When talking to Jackson just about how he can with the bullpen and their experiences this year, he compared Casey to the closest in his shoes. What do you think he can take away from a guy like
Yeah, well, he can grab any of those guys down there. Like those guys are all starters in their own way. Some of them have started games, some of them haven't. I think the biggest thing is just routine, and guys are used to playing a long toss, and they're used to having plenty of time on their own timeline as to when they're getting ready. And even though I try, when you're in the pen in the playoffs, like you might have 2 batter notice. If you get 3, you're pretty lucky because I'm reading the game as fast as I can. So if we can create some good routines for him, which is why we brought him up and put him in the pen right away, it's why we didn't even flirt with starting him in his first week in the big leagues. We're trying to get him up to speed as fast as possible. Now he's the youngest, so I guess that the stereotype of he should be ready faster than maybe some of the guys that have been doing it all year. But adrenaline is a beautiful thing for a starter transitioning to the bullpen in a series like this.
If I had told you on July 30th that you'd be back here in October playing in the ALDS, would you believe it?
Well, I didn't even have half this team at that point. It feels like,
I was going to ask you, what's at the heart of this?
Yeah.
What's been
I think a couple things. One, I'm glad you brought up July because This has not been a one series thing or a 1 month thing or a small little stretch. This has been 2 months of us stacking good days on good days, putting wins together, winning series, winning weeks. Had a couple winning road trips in there, some really fun homestands. And so, you got to do a lot over the course of 2 months to not only make up the ground that we made up. That's in its separate little bucket. We also had to do it to get to the win total that got us in the dance. So we believed in our talent. We believe in our young players. We believe in our process. We felt like we were getting better. A couple big wins here, creates a little more belief, and then you win a tough series against playoff caliber teams, and that creates even more belief. And you look up, and we were right in the thick of things as we got into the middle of September. And still, I thought a lot of people were wondering, when was it going to fade? When was it going to fall off? When was it going to be a nice story, but maybe not our time? But that was all outside our building. So we just kept at it and found ourselves in a really good position to make it to October and get to the first playoff series in a while. And I think we responded just fine.
AJ, you've been extremely upfront about the team's pitching strategy, outside of school. When you think back to the evolution of that, at what point during the season did you not only realize it was the best strategy, but also even a feasible one, with the
Yeah, good question. We talked about it because of the deadline. We were trading away pitching, both in the bullpen and the rotation. We were starting to promote young pitchers who, and still are, in their development cycle of becoming the pitchers that they're going to be. And we realized we had a lot of strengths, and we had guys that could do a lot of different things, and they came from different angles and different approaches. And some are fastball heavy, some are slider happy, some are changeup artists. And we started to piece this together, player by player. And we felt like the best way to break these guys in was maybe shorter outings with a little bit more strategy as to who they're facing first. And it started to work. When it starts to work, the player buy-in multiplies. Guys start having fun with it. Our willingness to try anything. Brant Herter came in with a runner on base for the first time in his life and got a ground ball and got out of it. So, Ty Madden had a really good opening or debut as a starter. Next outing, instead of going back in the rotation, he's coming out of the bullpen. So, I think we started to think as teams were having a hard time responding to this type of strategy, why change it?
Have you been in a situation that the Guardians are in now where they've had a week off after the regular season? And if so, what's the challenge, and is there an advantage that you guys have kept grinding and playing momentum baseball?
Yeah, so I have been in that spot, and I've gone back and forth. And this year, I choose to believe that playing is better than sitting. And so I may think differently in the future if we're ever in a better position, but I'm not sure what the right route. It all depends on your health, depends on your readiness, depends on your psyche of your team. I think, I know what the history tells you, recent history, and I know most managers that will sit in this chair will take the rest and reset, because they get to choose their game one starter, as somebody who pitched extremely well for them, and they had a lot of options. But, our series took some innings out of our pitchers, and we're doing it a little bit differently. So, if Steven's listening, it's really hard after that time off to get your team ready. We're fortunate that we played.
AJ, sort of a kind of a non-baseball question. These two cities are separated by 90 miles as the crow flies, and these two franchises never played the postseason. The cities have never really been rivals in really any sport, maybe all in the 50s. I'm just curious, you thought about that at all, or is this serious a possibility to maybe get the juices flowing a little bit?
Yeah, I think for us, this will be the best commute in my playoff history. Playing not too far from, it's a 15, 20-minute flight for us over the lake. So that'll be unique. I also think, two organizations that build from within. Detroit is a city that built around grit. We say that all the time because we live it. Cleveland obviously a very good city and very proud of their sports teams, including Cleveland, the Guardians, who, have sneaky been really good at getting to the playoffs and being in the playoffs and not too far removed from the World Series. So, two proud cities in a great part of the country, more so in the summer than the winter. But I'm glad that this natural rivalry of young teams, exciting, youthful exuberance of fan bases that are going to come out. You're going to see packed stadiums on both sides. It's good for baseball.
What makes Holton so special that he can do anything?
Yeah, slow heartbeat is the first ingredient. Being able to get anybody out is also key. He's got pitches for everybody. He can get creative. He can be stubborn. He's a strike thrower. But the slow heartbeat allows me to deploy him at any time. I think he's pitched in every inning, including the 10th. I'm not sure if he got to the 11th or 12th, but he's the type of pitcher you want in every situation. And so I know it's unique for a reliever to have as many innings as he has, but he never feels sort of overused or tired. He can get righties out. He's got a tall task with that, whether they stick, Lane at the top or whether Hosey's going to be somewhere in the lineup unless he needs a day off. I think he can handle the emotion of that by being a bully in the strike zone and getting really key outs. He just did it the other day. I'm not sure how many people have started back-to-back games, but he's going to be on a short list.
AJ, over the past few days, we've talked to Jake Rogers about how the pitching chaos impacts him. Did you have to prep him for that when that became the plan, or is it something that is a little easier than it might seem on the outside?
Yeah, I think we prep him just by continuing to hone in on our pitcher's strengths and how that matches up against the hitter weakness. It doesn't mean you don't always take a risk sometimes. You're not going to pitch the same way over and over again. Like both sides have the same information, somewhat translated in different ways or used in different ways. As a catcher, you're no longer held hostage to having to set up a hitter or not show a hitter everything in the first at bat or sort of worry too much about exposing your guy's stuff. I mean, you can attack them there kind of like you do out of the bullpen and realize you can do anything you want, and you're probably not going to see him again. If you are going to see him again, maybe it's only one other time. So, there were some situations last series where if I was going to leave a guy to go one time through and they swung at the first pitch, it's still advantage pitcher the next time you see him. That almost doesn't even count as a repeat seeing the same guy over and over again. So getting Jake out of the starter mindset of somebody who's going to be in for 90 to 100 pitches is one thing, but giving him the liberty to be as creative as he can be actually frees him up to call games and attack the opponent.
One more on the left adjustment. Power suggestion, trying to suggest Jose.
Right? No reaction from anybody, including vote. I bet he already put him in there.
The news today about Tito coming back in Cincinnati. Just your reaction to that. Obviously, you had encounters with him.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I've had some tough battles with him in the playoffs and throughout the years, and someone I've always looked up to, and I guess embarrassingly now, I went to him in the last game of the year last year to give him a hug and tell him thanks for everything, for what he's done for managers and how he's welcomed young managers into the game. Now I got to go back to hating him. So I love Tito. I think he's good for the game. We're bringing his experience back into this chair. Makes it hard to manage against his teams, and I'm thrilled for him, for his health, for his eagerness to get back in this chair. Obviously, it means somebody lost their position, but and I have a tremendous amount of respect for David Bell. But baseball's way better with Tito Francona in it.
Lots, of course, been made of how you guys have deployed your pitching this season, and AJ just talked earlier about the buy-in of the players. So from your perspective, at what point did you kind of realize that we all got to be ready really at any point in any game, and how did you guys embrace that?
Yeah, I think AJ's done a phenomenal job. Even in spring training, we had a meeting, and he made it a priority to have an open communication line from him to us and from us to him, and we've had that all year. And so, yeah, when the starter situation kind of happened a couple months ago and we moved to a lot of bullpen days, it was pretty transparent, but it was also, we relied on him and trusted in him to put us in good spots, and he's always done that. So it makes it easy to buy in when you've got a manager like that'll take care of you and also put you in the best spots to succeed.
Throughout your career, we've seen you kind of grow up here in Seattle. Adrenaline has been a big part of your game. Has it been something that you've had to learn to challenge or to channel and get to where you are now, where you're in these leverage situations and it's all emotion and adrenaline? Has that been a process for you?
Yeah, a little bit. Definitely think, early on, adrenaline can it's kind of like a wild bull if you don't know how to control it. And so, yeah, it's definitely something that you've got to learn to use to your advantage. And I always make a joke about it. Now it's kind of come true once we get to the playoffs. Everybody's like, man, guys are running on fumes. How do they get through? And I always say adrenaline's a hell of a drug. So, it's fun to feed off of that. But, yeah, you definitely have to know how to use it to your advantage.
Hey, well, just from your vantage point, what impresses you most about Scooble, and what do you think has allowed him to take this jump that he's taken this season?
Yeah, man, it's hard to explain, and it's been fun to watch. You almost become a fan watching it. I've had the pleasure of playing with him since he got drafted in 2018, and I still remember his first outing. He came out of the bullpen, punched the side, I think, on like 11 fastballs, and it was remarkable, and I was like, dude, this guy can pitch. And watching him grow into the pitcher that he is today it's been a treat to watch. Especially dealing with the injury, coming back from last year, and watching how he's kind of tailored, his routine, his recovery, his workouts. He's a pro's pro, and he's fun to pick his brain, learn from, and just watch pitch. But it's been awesome to watch him develop into the pitcher that he is today.
Beyond just the mindset for you particularly, is there one thing that you kind of figured out along the way that really enabled kind of the elevated success that you've had this season?
It's hard to put a finger on exactly, if anything. I think Wani always kind of gets at us with, in the new age of baseball, it's easy to get caught up in the numbers, the analytics, and the stuff and everything like that. And he keeps it as simple as possible, where he's like, you still got to execute. And that's something that he's really harped on with me throughout this year, is because in the past I've been known to go down some rabbit holes and look at some numbers and look at some mechanics and things like that. But this year I've simplified it as much as I can, just to get out there and execute as best as you can.
The Houston series was so loud, so intense.
Yeah.
And I know you guys were loose and comfortable before that, but how do you think that experience can help you this week?
Yeah, I think it's huge. And that's something that we talked about after the Baltimore series. A couple of the guys were just like, where would y'all rather go? Y'all want to go to Baltimore or you want to go to Houston? And I kind of made a joke where I was just like, when I was younger and I got in trouble, my dad would always ask, like, you want your licks now or you want them later? And I'm like, I want them now. Like, let's get it over with. And so I said that about Houston. I was like, I want to go to Houston. And they kind of looked at me like, dude, like, they're a postseason juggernaut. And I was like, yeah, but if we beat them, imagine the confidence that we'll have moving forward. And now that we're here, I think we got some good confidence going into this series.
You mentioned Juan Nieves earlier. What kind of impact has he had this season, or I guess during your Tigers tenure, but also especially the last couple of months with so many new faces in the bullpen?
Oh man, it's hard to put into words. What he brings along with Fett and Lund. I mean, those three guys complement each other phenomenally. It's they each bring something different to the table. But to speak on Juan specifically, he's got experience. He's got 4 World Series rings, and he's been through this a time or two. So it's awesome to kind of pick his brain on things that he's seen, and that's the crazy thing, is we're still playing the same game. Even though it was in the past, the things that he's learned and seen in his days still ring true to today. And so it's awesome to go to him and ask on advice, how to deal with the crowds that we're facing, or even little things as like sequencing, or how to read ABs, how to read guys swings, or what they're looking for. And he's a wealth of knowledge, and it's awesome to have him on our side.
Will, when you guys were here in July, 4 or 5 games under 500, on the verge of some trades, et cetera, was there a belief then? Where did you think the season was going at that point?
Yeah, I think we've always had that belief. I remember being interviewed in spring training, and someone had asked, what's the expectations for this year? And I think everybody that was in that clubhouse believed that we were going to the playoffs. Now, it may have looked grim after June. June wasn't a great month for us, but I don't think that belief ever left. Now, once we basically got a brand new team, after the trade deadline, and we brought up a lot of new guys. But I mean, just that burst of energy that we got with all those young guys was awesome. It was fun playing with everybody. Guys are excited to be making their MLB debuts, and once that train got rolling, it was fun to be a part of. So.
All the way in the back, Will. Just talk about, the chemistry with this team has always been good, but how much has kind of the brotherhood grown throughout all of this?
Yeah, chemistry has been good. I've been up in the big leagues with the Tigers since 22, and clubhouse has always been great, but I think the biggest thing that can bring a clubhouse together is winning. And once we started doing that, it's a whole new level. I've even said to my wife, I've never had as much fun playing baseball as I am now. And it's just, every game you feel like there's something where you're just looking to the guy next to you, you're just like, what the heck just happened? Like, how? And that's what's so beautiful about baseball. Even the game last night with the Brewers and the Mets, like, it's playoff baseball there's nothing like it. And so once you're going through those situations, the crowd in Houston, as Skip even said, it's one of the loudest ballparks in the league. And when you go through that with your brothers and you come out, with the dub, that'll bring you together. And so yeah, it's fun.
Chill's just even talking about playoff baseball.
Oh yeah, because I almost annoy my wife with how bad I've wanted to be here. Every year I go immediately, I get home and I get on the couch and we're watching another month of baseball. And she's just like, are you not tired of this? I'm like, this is the best of the best right here. Like, this is it. And so I've always been on her, like, man, I gotta play in that. I've gotta feel that. And now that I have, it's unbelievable. It's indescribable.
When you first saw the graph that's on your shirt, what kind of feeling did that bring?
Yeah, I don't know if y'all can see that. So it's actually funny. I've got a group chat with some of our best friends back at home. And when I went home, and it was late August to have my second kid, our playoff chances were very low. I think it was like 5% or something like that at that time. And I texted that group chat and I was like, hey, don't count us out. We've got a 5% chance. And they kind of did what y'all are doing. Like, they were laughing. And, while I was at home for the paternity list, I left Chicago. We were playing the White Sox and we won 4 in a row. And it went up to like 7%. And I was like, hey, and so every day I would send in that group text what percentage we were at. And, they were kind of laughing at it. And then once we got to like middle of September, it like started getting up there to like 20, 30, whatever. And they were just like, holy crap. And the best message of it all was when we clinched, I immediately went and grabbed my phone and just sent 100%. And they all three loved it. And that was a cool text to send. It was really cool.
Jake Rogers has, been a huge part of just his responsibilities as the catcher for a pitching staff that is changing so often on a daily basis. As someone who's kind of seen him in this organization for a while, what has he kind of meant to this team? Oh
man, again, it's hard to put in words. You love having that guy back there. He's got a good game plan. He's unbelievable at at just reading the game, reading what the hitters have done early, and also matching that with what your strengths are. And he's easy to game plan with. He doesn't have an ego as far as if you don't agree with him on a certain pitch, or if you want to shake, he's always open to kind of talking about things, or he's going to let you know why he wanted to do certain things. But I think the best thing about Raj is just his ability to keep things light. With such a young team, I think you got to have that. I think that's what kind of keeps that energy alive, is not taking things too seriously or putting too much pressure. Which once you get to these situations, that could be easy to do. So it's always good to just look up and know that you got Raj back there to kind of help you calm down the moment, and you can put your full trust in him, to rely on him to help you get through however many outs you got to get.
As someone who had to make the transition to learn about the relief routines and everything, how much have you tried to help guys like Job get the hang of this on short notice and learn how much to throw, what to do between outings, stuff like that?
Yeah, and that's definitely something that we actually had a conversation a couple of weeks ago when we were in Baltimore with some of the guys in the bullpen, just talking about routines as far as throwing your catch play the day after you throw, and like how to stay loose or stay fresh, because we knew down to the wire, we're like, hey, boys, we're going to be in there a lot. And so we kind of talked about things that I've learned through my tenure. And this year I've learned a lot about myself on how to keep my body fresh. And so some of us have kind of relayed to some of the younger guys as far as, what we do to help with that. But also the guys that have come up, they've got phenomenal routines and know how to get their body right as well. So, it wasn't that much of a transition, with Job. We kind of, even with Gunny too, we talked about the other day, where it's like he got hot in the first game in Houston, and he was just like, dude, I threw 2 pitches and I felt warm. I was ready to go, and I was like, exactly, like back to the adrenaline thing, like it'll get you going in the playoffs and you don't need much. So right now it's just everybody hands on deck and you got to be ready to go.
Well, what's it like playing in front of Parker Meadows, and just the fact that he makes so many incredible catches that get you guys out of jams, but it also seems like they serve as momentum seizing moments for the offense as well.
It's a breath of fresh air to have that guy behind you. He's a deer out there. Even yesterday, Pena squared that ball up to center field, but literally, like off the bat, I was just like, he's catching it. Like I turned around and I even see him in a full sprint, and I was like, he's catching it. And then as he got closer to the wall, I was like, come on, he's catching it. Like, and sure enough, he comes down with it. But I mean, the plays that he's made, the rob that he did.